What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Tastes Like Music. Jason and Joe here. Album of the week. This is the series where we normally review records chosen by our patrons. We have a long rotation of people playing along with us. I think we're around 40 some people now, so almost a year's worth of different submitters. So this is our second time through the rotation. The first time through was on Discord only. This time we're making videos about the albums as well. I thought about taking us out of the rotation for the season 2, just give it to the patrons, but no, we're staying in the game, and this is my week to pick. So this is mostly going to be on you. Tell me how you feel about this record. I will say I kind of chose something that I thought would go over well with most of the people playing along. So this isn't like an all-time favorite of mine. It's a very good 4 stars. It might be like top 10 or 20 of 2008 for me. I think it's very good. And the record that I've chosen is Saturnalia by the Gutter Twins, which is a collaborative record, like I said, from 2008 between Mark Lanegan, famously of the Screaming Trees, also had a very successful solo career and made records with Isabel Campbell and was on some of the Queens of the Stone Age records, did all kinds of stuff. And Greg Dulli, who is best known as the front person of the Afghan Wigs, also had another band after the Wigs called the Twilight Singers. So yeah, I think these two make a great pairing. I think they both bring something to the table here that the other is lacking. For me, those Twilight Singer records especially, I think are all really cool. I like them, but they all sound very, very similar. They could all be like the same record. And I think bringing Mark in kind of shakes it up a little, gives you a little extra different flavor that you don't normally get when Greg is on his own. And I think, I love the Screaming Trees, but as far as like Mark's solo stuff, it's a little more hit and miss for me. Some of it I love. He does have a tendency to get into kind of this like dirgy funeral march type stuff that gets a little tiring after a while. And I think having Greg there to like rock things up a bit and bring the energy up kind of helps him. So I think they both have are contributing here. You get some cool guest appearances on this record. You've got Joseph Arthur lending vocals to a track. You've got who else is on here? Martina Topley Bird is on a track, and Troy Van Leeuwen of Queens of the Stone Age appears as well. So yeah, very cool record. I think yeah, it rocks pretty hard. I love the Greg Dulli stuff. I love the Mark Lanegan stuff, and when they come together, it's also pretty awesome. So, how you feeling about it?
Well, I gotta say, I hated your first pick from last year, Bit Orca, whatever it is. Not a big fan of that one. So I think with this one, you've fully redeemed yourself. And I hadn't heard this one, and that is kind of one of the points of the album of the week. You're supposed to pick things that are a little more, underground, a little more obscure, shall we say. So this was an interesting one. You get like the big bands, and like people remember the big bands forever. But anytime someone goes solo or like teams up with somebody else from a big band, like throughout history of music, for whatever reason, like people just forget about them. There's so much like weird like solo artists floating out there with some real cool stuff that pretty much it's swept under the rug because they were in the Rolling Stones or whatever big band they're in. So two guys that I really like Mark Lanegan. I really like the Screaming Trees. I really like his stuff in Queens of the Stone Age. Greg Dulli's stuff with the Afghan Wigs, not quite as much. I always appreciated the sound, but not everything works for me. He's probably, a 3.5 to 4 star kind of guy for the most part. But I do think them coming together just adds like a little extra to both of their solo catalogs. They call themselves the Satanic Everly Brothers, which I think is hilarious. An apt name. They have like these cool harmonies that are certainly menacing and a little dark and evil sounding. Just like that presence, the same way you get from like a Tom Waits or a Queens of the Stone Age, where it's just like this kind of uneasiness throughout most of the record. I think the instrumentation is fantastic. I really like Greg Dulli's guitar tone on here. The production overall, I think, is real good. It's surprisingly, I don't think of like the late 2000s as a great era for rock music, at least not like the, muscular type, other than, Queens of the Stone Age, basically. But this album, I think, really brings that power, that muscular rock and roll throughout. And the Stations, I think, is a great opener, big and dramatic. You got some strings in there. You immediately get the Dulli and Lanegan harmonies working together, which is just a really cool sound, even though, they're not similar, but Lanigan's real low, kind of gravelly and strange, and Dooley's he doesn't have like a soprano or a falsetto voice or anything. So the way they make their harmonies work is pretty cool. There's a great use of strings and keys, especially throughout the album. Dooley alone plays organ, piano, Mellotron on 5 tracks, Rhodes organ on 4 tracks. A guy who I've never heard of named Matthias Schneeberger plays organ, harmonium on a couple tracks, the first two, and Mellotron as well. And there's some synth stuff on here. And the music's just real big and rich and full. And there's a lot going on, but underneath, the riffs are really tight, big muscular sound. It's meaty rock and roll, but a little extra on top. The harmonies are cool. The guest stars, I like Marina Topley Bird's guest appearance on The Body, which is a little poppier, a little more melodic, kind of ghostly, real cool. And maybe a little spotty towards the end. I think after Circle the Fringes, which is a great song. The last 4 or 5, some I really like, some I kind of just glazed over, but I Was in Love with You is real strong. Just a good kind of pleading love song. And then Biddy Noir, I don't know how to say that, from Lanegan is killer. The way they split the writing duties is great. They trade off a lot. They trade off the lead vocals a lot, which is cool. So it never gets boring. The sound, different styles, but it's rooted in heavy rock and roll for the most part. And yeah, for 2008, I think it's real strong. And this is just a quintessential 4-star album for me. It's just two very talented people working together very well. And yeah, real cool. Did not know this existed. So that's a good find.
Yeah, cool. Glad you liked it. Glad you got to 4. I had tickets to see them on this tour, and Ed Harcourt was going to be opening, and the show was canceled for lack of ticket sales, which is a real.
Was that in Pittsburgh or?
That was Pittsburgh. It was going to be at Mr. Small's.
Damn you, Pittsburgh. I was gonna say that wouldn't happen in Philadelphia or
No.
somewhere cool.
Yeah. That's the only time I've ever had a show canceled that explicitly said it was canceled for that reason. Yeah, so I agree with pretty much everything you said. I think it's a really solid 4 stars. It's actually pretty close to 4.5 for me upon re-listening before I chose it. Yeah, I think it's just solid. If you like either of them, I think you'll really enjoy this record. So I hope you go check it out. Let us know what you think of it in the comments. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are not yet subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications so you know when these videos and our other videos drop, and check the video description for links to Patreon, social media, all that stuff. Follow it all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.